Hello and welcome! Today's film feature is going to be fun and fancy-free. This film was released in 1947 after the World War II epidemic, and it was right in the midst of it. It was released as part of a package film just like Fantasia was and Make My Music, all short films together as an anthology just to enjoy as a collection. And this one was a little bit different because this only featured two stories. The first one was Bongo, about a circus fair.
Bongo was the star of the circus. Why, he could juggle and dance while on a trapeze, walk a tightrope with the greatest of ease. In jiu-jitsu, he was beyond compare. Once threw a bull at the county fair. Super at wrestling and lifting weights, outboxed the champs of 17 states.
And I did some more research about it because it reminded me of Dumbo, and it was supposed to be a sequel to Dumbo. That was in the beginning talks of it, and it makes so much sense because it does follow this aesthetic, I would say. It follows the aesthetic of it really well. And the second one is the one that you're probably the most familiar with too, as I was familiar with, was Mickey and the Beanstalk.
Drew them toward this place of mystery. Hunger? Desperation? Or perhaps it was love of adventure.
And in between these two sections we have some nice celebrity guests. Celebrity guests that you would not know who they are today. But let's start with the beginning. So we open with Jiminy Cricket, who was already known at the time from Pinocchio, and he's singing this wonderful musical sequence about being a happy-go-lucky person.
Get a happy-go-lucky feeling, keep it and I guarantee that you find you'll wind up living in the sun, full of fun and fancy-free.
And I understand that this was wonderful at the time because of the fact that they were in the middle of World War II. Everything was bad, everything was going to hell, and it was nice to be able to have some positivity back in their lives. And that is also why, and even with the Great Depression, that is why movies exhaled so much, because it was an escape. So this was doing a great job giving the audiences an escape from the horror that they were facing in the daily news.
Turn to any page. You'll find the whole world worrying about some future age. But why get so excited? What's going to be is going to be. Now, the end of the world's been coming since 1903. That's BC, of course.
I really, really love this little line about the end of the world. I really do. It's so innocent and sweet that it doesn't even, like, you know how sometimes it like lands flat? This doesn't land flat. This really is so charming and sweet and innocent that it makes you be so hopeful. And I love it. It already gives me a good start for this film. He decides to tell this story about Bongo, the circus fair, which is narrated by Dinah Shore, who was a very famous singer at the time. And I know most people wouldn't know the name right now. But she also did a song in Make My Music. I like her voice is nice. And she narrates this little story about the circus fair that is unhappy with his life and he wants to escape to the forest. I'm sorry, but a bear would not get along with woodland creatures. They would be terrified of him. Especially a fish. I know, that's a joke. I get it. But it's so ironic. The moral of the story is that the bear ends up finding love and they live happily ever after together. We continue onwards with Jiminy Cricket finding an invitation to be invited to a house party with Edgar Burden, and he makes this joke.
Edgar Bergen? Never heard of him. Please come. Why, I'd be delighted.
I've never heard of him either. Don't worry, Jiminy, I'm on your side.
Tell me, what is the secret of your lovely complexion?
Well, I use saddle soap.
I see.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the creepiest home ever. Run, Jiminy, run!
This kid stuff.
Run, little girl, save your life! They will murder you all!
I'm glad you came to our party.
Well,
Did you have fun?
oh yes, indeed.
Did this turn into an episode of Twilight Zone? I know the Twilight Zone wasn't created yet, but was this a prequel to the Twilight Zone? Because I feel like it is.
Yes, I agree with you.
Is this what Jeff Dunham's house looks like? So Edgar Burden was a famous ventriloquist, and these are his dummies. and I mean that as a compliment. And they end up telling this little girl a story about Mickey and the Beanstalk.
Once upon a time, long, long ago.
Funny, nothing ever happens nowadays.
That was a good joke. Creepy dummy.
And there they are. 3 poor farmers gripped by the pangs of starvation. Still alive, still breathing, sharing a pitiful crust between them. Share and share alike, sharing and staring, staring and sharing.
Just tell it, don't ham it.
And this is where we get to the familiar story, which is Mickey and the Beanstalk, that they're poor peasants, and I think I remember the shorter version of it because watching this, it seems a lot more extended. There's a story about the golden harp getting kidnapped by this giant, and there's a lot more complex nuances within this short film, which I don't remember, but I do remember vividly the scene of them starving and wanting to sell a cow, because obviously that's a plot point and that leads the story from A to B. And the giant was very familiar looking and the basic storyline was very present. I just didn't remember all of the special nuances, like I said, and the details. This Edgar ventriloquist person tells this little girl who's the story, and they switch back and forth between the story and live action. And I really like this premise of it. I really do appreciate it, even though it's filled with nightmare imagery.
I just gotta ask. How so? Again.
The little fellow was completely out of his head. He was a pitiful sight.
And he's going to kill you in your sleep, little girl. I don't trust him. I don't trust Charlie. Stay away from Charlie. Stay away. I also don't understand, and I know this was a joke at the time, that was probably a running joke. I don't understand this yes sir bit.
I am the giant.
You are not. You're nothing of the kind.
Well, I'm the smaller giant.
No, you're not.
I'm tougher than 40 men.
You're not.
Well, or 20 men.
No.
No? 10 then?
Aren't you ashamed of yourself, Charlie? Why do you act like that?
I don't know. I guess it's just a stage I'm going through.
Well, take off that mustache.
No!
Now go over there and behave yourself.
Yes, sir. Everything I do is wrong.
He's going to come for revenge, Edgar, and he's going to kill you in your sleep. I warned you.
We get a stranglehold on her while she's asleep and push her off the cliff.
They wrap up the story. It's a happy ever after again. We've reached the end of Fun and Fancy Free.
Willie the Giant didn't actually exist, Roo. No, he's a metaphysical phenomenon of your subconscious mind. A phantasmagoria of your mental faculty, Roo. In other words, just a figment of your imagination. Roo! Yeah, so there's nothing to be upset about.
Hey, has anybody seen anything of a teensy-weensy little mouse?
No,
The giant appears to be real, which is fantastic. I really love this element of it, especially after they say it's just a figment of your imagination. And he walks off into Hollywood and reaches for the brown derby. Believe in all your dreams and you will see. That really made my day, seeing the brown derby, especially because of its presence in Hollywood studios. And it's so cool to know that it really was a big deal back then. And I feel like today, the Brown Derby restaurant doesn't stand up to that appeal, but that's a whole other story. Overall, I really enjoyed this. It's only about an hour long. It's 2 short films within one and some nice witty banter in it. It's really nice, really positive, and I love Jiminy Cricket, and he just comes off in a nice charming way where he doesn't seem condescending, that he just gives you hope. And it's such a soothing voice, and I really appreciate it, and it's nice to watch if you're having a bad day. It's really great to put this on, or if you just want to watch and enjoy. Bongo really didn't do much for me. That one was kind of hit or miss. I liked more of the in-between scenes. It appeared more like a variety special, and I think that's probably the formula they went on because at the time there was only radio. TV wasn't around then. So this was a nice setup that they put into movies that they probably took and figured that it worked better as a weekly series. And I know with this, I did more research. There was a behind the scenes featurette that I watched where they said that Edgar, he appeared on Walt Disney television specials as well. So there was a nice recurring cast. and it's really nice to see that. So this one I really recommend watching, especially if you have an hour, and just check it out if you're able to. And as always, I hope you have a magical day, and I will see you real soon.